back at it again, and we got a guest this time around, Brandon Marcello, talking him up as the Adam Schefter of college football.
Oh.
There's nothing that happens in this sport that this guy doesn't
Give
know
me his
about.
salary.
And what? Yeah, right. Well,
I'll take that.
And we got Peyton here too. So you were student reporter? Were you covering this guy?
Yeah, we were just talking before we went on air. I was trying to drag back some memories. What year was it? I remember your leg being so like solid purple and blue.
No, so my junior year, they made me return punts.
Oh,
And so
gosh.
every time, and I always had that mentality like, I'm not going to fair catch it. I'm going to catch it every time, I was an idiot.
Yeah, and everybody's
But-
hitting you low.
And then they hit me low, and I got calcified thighs in my left quad. And then I tried to play through that. Then I got it in my right. And then both of them like stiffened up. I couldn't even bend them. And that's why I missed like the, what bowl was it that year? Citrus Bowl or
Yeah, they play Wisconsin.
Capital
broke
One
down.
Bowl? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
I
right.
missed
yeah.
that whole, and then the Florida, the SEC championship
Yeah.
game. You know, Reggie Fish missed
Yeah, that's
fumbled
a
the punt
punt.
return.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, speaking of Florida, we got the USF guy now is no longer the target at Arkansas. He's got the job at Auburn. I
Yeah.
remember seeing your tweet there, new sheriff in town, and was wondering what that was. So
Yeah.
I have reason to believe that they really liked Alex Golesh.
They did.
How exactly did that all shake out?
Yeah.
And we've talked to Ryan. I think Ryan's doing a fantastic job
I
selling
do.
Arkansas.
I agree. Yeah, I put that tweet out there. People are like, "Oh, they hired someone."
I thought it was Eric Morris when I saw the sheriff.
Well,
like in Texas or.
I did it more or less because it was from the movie 48 Hours. And I put it up on I think I went to our 24/7 site, and I know Trey Biddy very well, and put on there, things are going to start clearing up here in 48 hours. Well, everybody's like, so, but you're saying the new sheriff? No, that's not what I meant. I probably shouldn't have used that GIF or whatever.
Yeah.
But 60 hours later, 48, 60 hours later, Eric Morris went to Oklahoma State, and that's when the picture is going to start getting clear. And then Alex Golesh emerged as the guy for Arkansas.
Did he have an offer?
Yes.
who are our top three candidates that we were looking at?
Alex Golesh, Ryan Silverfield, obviously. I'm not quite clear on the third. I'm not so sure Eric Morris was actually all that involved in that situation.
Kane Womack got talked about a little
Kane
bit.
Womack was talked about quite a bit, but I'll tell you that communication there was not very clear near the end in the last week and a half of it.
As in, what do you mean?
He didn't hear very much from them
Oh,
after assuming that he was a finalist.
hmm.
So he was kind of left in the
Tough
dark.
break then, huh?
Yeah, very tough.
So ultimately, do you think money was a factor? Because Brandon, whenever you look at the numbers, Arkansas's got, I think Jeff Lebby. I don't know what Will Stein's making,
Yeah.
but I believe Jeff Lebby's the only coach that's getting paid less right now than Ryan Silverfield. Golesh got a contract at Auburn.
Mhm.
So did John Summerall, for that matter.
Yeah, I don't think it was money necessarily because Arkansas was in line to get Alex Golesh. And if you look at the contract, and I can't remember the exact numbers. I know Alex Golesh is getting paid obviously more than Silverfield, but Arkansas was prepared to give him similar money here if he had taken the job. And that we can go over how all that went down if you want, but it.
How did it all go down?
All right, so obviously I got very close connections here at Arkansas and a lot of connections in the agent world. And first off, a lot of these guys are represented by the same agent, same agency, and it's not Jimmy Sexton. This is a different agency. It was WME, and several of their candidates were involved in the same job openings in the SEC. So it was a matter of kind of musical chairs or playing cup, moving the cup around. So I would say about Wednesday of that week, things started going really south between Auburn and John Summerall. John Summerall had been talking to Auburn for the better part of 3 weeks. Auburn's administration even went down to New Orleans, sat in his house, talked to him, setting things up, explaining things, what everything would look like, what your staff would look like, the money, the resources. And it seemed like it was going to be a done deal. That week of all the hirings, Thursday night is when Auburn cut off communication completely with John Summerall because they started getting some weird, interesting questions from him and his camp that made them think, why is he stalling all of a sudden? Why is this an issue? Asking questions about staffing. Do I need to be hiring this guy? I've heard that you guys want me to hire this defensive coordinator, which is DJ Durkin, who's was hired by Alex Golesh to stay there. Was also asking a lot of questions about the contract, going as far as I was told, asking how many parking passes am I getting on game day for my family? And they're like, okay, why are we in the weeds here? So it became pretty clear, and they started, administrators aren't dumb. They got a lot of connections, and they were hearing that he was getting serious with Florida all of a sudden. And so they went, all right, we got to cut off. We got to go to our second, third options, figure something out, because we want to make a hire after the Iron Bowl. The Iron Bowl was played on Saturday. I was in Michigan for the game, Ohio State, Michigan, and I got a call sometime in the third quarter. Very close source that would know what was going on in Auburn said, Summerall's completely out, and it's one of two guys right now. And they're like, I'm telling you the truth, don't know who it's going to be. That decision will not be made until after the Iron Bowl. And I'm like, okay, so maybe the day after, and go,
It's probably Durkin and Golesh, right?
So Durkin and Golesh were the final two there. The thinking was, if he ends up winning the Iron Bowl, it's going to be very hard to convince some of the boosters there, hey, we're not going to hire him.
That game means so much, yeah.
It did.
It was close.
So about 1 a.m. That night, Auburn had made its decision who they were going to hire. And then a little bit after 1:50 a.m., they messaged everybody, administrative-wise, and said, hey, we're going to have – we're going to end up calling a team meeting in the morning at about 10 o'clock. So prepare yourselves. And they did that, walked in there. Golesh wasn't there, and they just told him, hey, we hired a coach. It's Alex Golesh. So while that's all going on, when Auburn cooled down and Summerall cooled down at Auburn, that affected what was happening at Arkansas, and for that matter, obviously Florida, because same agency, repping that same guys, had all these players involved. And so Arkansas had been really hot on Alex Golesh. They met with him in person earlier that week. I think it was Sunday night.
Why do these coaches lie? Like after the Rice game, he's like, guys, I haven't talked to anybody.
Well,
Yeah.
And I know it's their reps, right? It's not actually the coach, but still.
yeah, sometimes it's the rep, sometimes it's the actual coach, especially when they meet in person.
But why would it hurt?
I don't know. Sometimes they're told by their agents, and others don't say anything because it'll end up hurting you in negotiations and all this other stuff. For example, like Florida, their athletics director, Scott Strickland, is notoriously very secretive. And when something gets out with a candidate that they are considering, they tell them, we're serious about you. You got to show us you're serious about us. And if this ends up leaking here, we're going to say it's you, and we're going to look into it and figure it out. And I remember when he was at Mississippi State, that being kind of the mantra with Greg Byrne, his boss at the time, who's now the AD at Alabama. And sure enough, I've been told, he says, we've eliminated candidates because they'll walk in here, meet with us like at the Final Four when they're hiring basketball coaches, and it'll get out like 10, 15 minutes later after they leave, and they go, well, we know we didn't talk in here because we're still in the room, and you just walked out, something happened, and so it's either you, your agent, or your family telling someone, so you're not a candidate anymore.
Well, just because they feel like, what exactly?
Are you leveraging this for something else?
That's what. Okay.
Which
If
really,
you're serious-
which absolutely reeked of that situation
That's
with
what.
Alex
That's what the
Golesh.
Summerall situation sounds like. He was
Yeah.
buying time to see what he could get at both places.
He
on.
certainly was that week. But at the time, Kiffin was very much in Florida's eyes. They felt like still involved until the middle of that week when it was realized, oh, he's not responding to us, or his agents aren't responding to us anymore.
Peyton's guy. Maybe he's Silverfield's talked to you, right?
Yeah, he texted me.
So they've been, maybe he's putting a little ointment on what happened. His guy the day it went down was Bobby Petrino, right?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Your guy was Bobby Petrino when they made the announcement. You wanted Bobby to get the job?
Well, tell you the truth, like after I saw so many options going other places, I was like, to me, there's not really a coach here that's going to come in and make a splash right away. To me, when everybody was hired, I was kind of wondering like where Penn State was going to go for a while.
Yes.
I mean that was kind of confusing, but I
Felt like
guess-
Kiffin was really the linchpin in the whole thing.
It
Yeah,
was.
I think that my idea behind it all was, Petrino, he's a great offensive mind. He played everybody close besides, Texas and Notre Dame. I know that there was a lot of penalties there and a lot of turnovers and stuff like that, but I was just thinking, man, if we had a D coordinator that can hold people to 28 points a game, I mean, we win some ball games.
I'll counter with this. There's a reason why the defense was bad. It's because a lot of the NIL money was put into the offense to appease Bobby Petrino.
Yep.
Not much of the defense. And defense needed a lot more this past offseason at linebacker and some depth up front, but especially at linebacker. And I'm telling you, last spring, the writing was on the wall. I was talking to some of the staff members. We're not going to be very good on defense this year. Weren't able to get the type of money into the players we wanted.
Was that?
Well, that comes down to
Bobby
the head
and
coach,
Sam, yeah.
people running the program, yeah.
Well, I'm saying, so like Pitman said, we're going to put all this money towards offense.
Pitman
And I think
Petrino.
Bobby was very influential, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Bobby, I mean, he's pretty much the associate head coach. So
Going back to it, Bobby said he was here because of Sam. You buying that? Didn't it seem like there was influence from
definitely.
some influential people in Arkansas that
Definitely.
wanted to bring Bobby
Yeah,
back?
definitely. People on the radio.
Because I don't want to hire my replacement.
There's no doubt he saw an opportunity, too.
Saw an
had
opportunity.
to.
And I mean, the connection there was made by a booster here that I think everybody knows who the name is.
FF, right?
Yeah, and the connection was there, and he reached out, said, would this be an interest to you guys? And Petrino's like, yeah, I'd be interested in me. And Pitman said, hey, why not? And then, of course, Arkansas had to do their due diligence to look into whether they could do it because he was fired with cause the previous time, where the legalities of that within the system, and they were able to sign off on it with no real big issues and made it happen.
Didn't he kind of like know, though, that, hey, Pitman may be on his way out? Whether he wins or loses, any year could be his last.
Maybe
step
so.
in to be the head coach.
Maybe so.
I think the age of Pitman, right? You know, maybe
That and listen, I mean, last year there were legit rumors about Pitman maybe stepping away because everybody, we know the hip stuff and all that, but there was pressure behind the scenes from a lot of folks, not in the administration, but outside boosters and everything, about what would it look like if we were able to convince Sam, hey, maybe it's time to step away. You said that when you got here, you're going to leave this place in a better spot than when you inherited it. Maybe this is the time for you to step aside and for us to go in and try to hire someone. And, the candidate pool may have been a little bit deeper for Arkansas at that time.
When did he get his extension?
after 21.
Was that it?
I think, yeah, after that in the 9-win season.
Okay.
So Brandon, nothing ever happens without a purpose. That press release, it said Bobby Petrino will be considered for the head coaching job. And my antenna went way up.
Yeah.
Do you feel that he kind of was the guy, that he didn't really have to do all that? Maybe if he would have went 3-4, shown some improvement, he probably would have gotten the job because he had a lot of support.
Yeah, I mean, he would have had to win a few games. And obviously that didn't happen. He came close, but the thing is, it's like, you're mentioning, like, he came close. He was getting close, but like, it was the same way Arkansas was losing games last year and earlier this year. And sometimes you just got to look at that and go, what's the common denominator here on the staff?
Well,
what are we thinking makes Petrino? What do we think he's going to do this, considering how he flamed out at Louisville, and then
losing record since he lost Lamar Jackson?
Right, Lamar Jackson's gone, and he goes, what was it, 2-8, something like that.
I think he was counting Arkansas. I think it was 20.
But didn't he go back to Louisville twice and started winning each time he got there? Then he kind of faded out every time, though.
Well, not his first stint because he went to the NFL.
Yeah,
went to the Falcons. Yeah, but that he faded out badly at Louisville. And I talked to Petrino about that, and he said that he thinks that, his father died that preseason, and he says, I think that really did affect me negatively, and I did not handle that very well, and it showed up on the field.
I feel, and I guess this is where I kind of stick with Petrino, like the way you were talking, like there's a common denominator in all this. And it's like, well, he was losing last year when he got here, and he's losing this year, but he was the offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't the head coach. I mean, you don't blame the vice president for what the president does and so forth and so on. And so, like, what I'm wondering is like, do you really put that on him fully? Like, I understand, like, when he took over this year as a head coach, and there was a lot of mental errors, a lot of mental mistakes, turnovers, that we weren't converting in crucial times. And I understand that you can put that on him. But if you're not the head coach and can actually get your own staff and can actually put your best foot forward, is it really on you?
I think with the influence he had.
The influence he had, but also I would consider this like you can't in this day and age, especially at Arkansas, you can't go, well, let's make this an offensive team and then defense be damned. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that kind of happened under Petrino those 2 years. You saw the defense just get progressively worse. And under Travis Williams, that first year, they were pretty darn good. And then even the year, not this past season, but the year, they did pretty good considering the talent they had. They were a little bit more aggressive because they were able to be. But the question would have been if Petrino is the head coach, would that have changed?
Well,
I can't believe he fired those guys.
That's what
the way that happened. I mean, that kind of said like,
I mean,
he didn't really respect the job they were doing.
I'll say this. There was some butting heads there even beforehand, and
that have anything to do with him going to the booth or. No,
I don't know, but I'll say this: like Travis Williams and Marcus and those guys, like they're very well respected in the industry. And
Travis just got a job.
Travis just got a job at Texas A&M, and he'll be back to coordinating here in the next 2-3 years. I bet you.
You were saying like we gave all of our money towards the offense.
Not all of it, but most of it.
What was our budget or in our budget?
I don't know exactly what it was.
Okay, well, say if it was. I don't know.
It's in the lower half of the league.
I wouldn't think it'd be 9-10 million, right? It'd be close, maybe.
Last number I heard,
10 million sounds about right.
Yeah, last number I heard, this was right before Petrino was the OC. So what year was that? Was that they were going about 8 million? Obviously, I would think.
I'm thinking about if we could double that
after
pay
that.
defense.
Do you like the commitment you're seeing? Again, my antenna goes up.
Yes.
Quincy Rhodes is not playing here for free. KJ Jackson
Right.
probably could have done well in the transfer portal. Really,
Yeah.
no key players have left.
Right.
The signs are there that the financial commitment's a lot different now.
It is. I would like to know the specific numbers, and usually, I mean, they're not just going to hand that over, but it's been very difficult to track down even through sourcing what that is. And usually, for me, when that's the case, it's either you're spending a lot of money or you're probably just about middle of the pack or whatever, which is what they've said. They said we're in the top half of the league now, and so we can be competitive. And I'll be quite honest with you, like I know fans that hear that and go, "Well, we need to be doing more because we're." If you're in the middle of the league in the SEC spending wise, you can still be pretty competitive, especially if you want to be a program that retains players and then develops them. And that's been the problem for Arkansas. Let's be quite frank, the last 2-3 years is they've led the SEC in guys leaving the team.
Yeah,
by far. I mean, they've had mass exodus the last 2 years.
Some good players.
Yeah, and then this year that hasn't been the case. You got to keep guys on campus, and there's ways to sell that. Sam Pitman sold it as well. Those are guys that didn't want to be here, and we want guys here. I understand some of that, but it can't be everybody. It can't be all 34 players. Yeah, like these 34 guys just never fit, and that's not the case.
If Ryan wasn't here, where do you think he'd be coaching?
Well, he had another offer.
Better offer? Not
No.
financial. Is it a better school?
No.
A power school?
Why can't we say the school?
Because he's got sources he's got.
Oh, sources. Oh,
I
I didn't know if it was public knowledge.
No,
or
it's
not.
not.
Okay, gotcha.
It's not. He had another school was very, very interested in him.
But you think
I don't know if he would have taken that.
it's fair to say he's got the better job.
Yes.
And you buy that he really wanted to be here. He had his eye on this job.
Yeah, he told me a story. Hopefully, I'm not stepping out here.
He's coming on the show. He told Peyton he's coming on.
I bet he will.
Did he? I don't think he did. He just texted me. He was like, "Hey, nice to meet you. I hope you come by." He's honestly, from what I've seen on TV and what he's been doing, he's been really going out there. Get some babies and stuff. He's trying to do the right thing. He seems like a good guy.
He needs to have former guys like you involved and around the program. So when these players
been a
come
disconnect
on,
there.
Yeah. So when you, there's one thing for players that walk around and go, they don't know anything that happened 6 years ago because they were so young. But you're there and you can tell them like, these kids are so inquisitive about stuff. They want to know things. And having former players, I've seen it at other schools. And I hear some coaches go, I don't want the former players around all the time or whatever. But then I go to some schools where every time I walk into their building, there's someone there of some sort. And they're like holding court, talking to players like during a lunchtime or whatever.
Running backs coach right here.
And it's so freaking healthy and so great. It's why programs, it's a lot of blue bloods do that.
Well, I know this from firsthand knowledge. Like when I was in the NFL and when I got out for a time there, I really the guys would talk about how Auburn, Alabama, especially guys in the SEC, they would always bring these guys back, have them part of the program, make them feel involved. And I feel like Arkansas has never done that.
Yeah.
And, you can get mad that, or you can be worried that there's too many ex-players on the field. They could be saying stupid stuff you don't want them to say. But at the end of the day, if the ex-players feel like they're wanted, they're going to be loyal, they're going to be honorable, and they're going to support you. But that has never happened here. And that's really why I'm kind of upset with the program, because I feel like we could be a lot better off now.
Most definitely. And you're exactly right. I covered Auburn for 7 years, and it seemed like every other day I walked in that building, there was someone there hanging out. Like they'll go, no, players are having lunch or whatever, and they go in there and just pull up a seat and just hang out and chill.
Yeah.
And then go on about their day or leave or whatever, if they would just come back and visit. But yeah, the Blue Bloods do that. I don't think that's a good story idea, actually, for me. Like, one of the missing, kind of the intangible, so to speak, that these missing ingredients for some programs is not just embracing the past, but like, come in here. I want you to give some like actual common, knowledge that players, maybe these guys don't quite know yet because they haven't been through all the battles. They haven't played Alabama 2 years in a row, 3 years in a row, and what it's like. That's invaluable in my eyes.
Brandon, do you think Arkansas has been humbled enough? And my perspective on that is there's just a lot of cutting corners, everything with, sports science and the data, the analytics, the coaching staff, the NIL roster.
What is going on here?
But sometimes it feels like, they're bringing in a coach that maybe they're still maybe not fully committed to doing things differently. Or no, do you think, hey, Ryan will get this thing, or he will have the resource in place to turn around enough?
The position Arkansas was in, I don't think unless you were going to be able to, convince all the boosters and others in the administration, hey, for example, like I know we can get James Franklin, but we have to do this.
They wanted him before Alex
and
Golesh.
I feel confident that I can get that money and get that all done. Arkansas couldn't do that. Virginia Tech did. Virginia Tech, they're putting $229 million into their athletics department budget over the next 4 years. Just yesterday, they had an anonymous gift of $20 million, the largest in school history, to go toward their victory fund or wherever you want to call it.
It's an arms race, man.
And you're exactly right. And that's what attracted James Franklin. James Franklin almost took that job like November 1st, but they were still getting their ducks in a row. They were zeroed in on James, and from the get-go, that was their guy, and they felt pretty good about being able to get him.
Does it seem to you that Arkansas doesn't believe in its own product? Almost, because
I think fans and boosters to a certain extent, there's a disconnect there because there's been a lot of infighting the last 10 years.
Yeah. And the reason why I say that is because people keep on saying, well, Arkansas doesn't have the money. Arkansas doesn't have the money. Well, you can see these other schools that don't have the money, but if they find a guy they believe in, they'll upfront that money.
Yeah.
As you see at Indiana and Vanderbilt, they will find the money if they believe in you.
Yeah.
And I feel like we haven't been in that situation for a long time now.
You're exactly right. And that's about, what do you want to be successful in? Do you want to funnel most of you're funneling most of your money anyway to football, no matter where you're at because of expenses. But, it's very clear Arkansas has said basketball is very, very, very important to us. So we're going to spend money there.
Different budget, though.
Yeah.
It's a little bit easier. You got 15 guys on the team.
Sure, but that also affects other programs.
Yeah.
Smaller programs in the Olympic sports here that end up getting some cuts.
And I know some people in those Olympic sports are not happy.
They're not happy about what's going on with basketball because it's affecting them.
It bothers me that we're doing so well in so many other sports.
Yeah.
Football is just falling completely off the map.
I think
the one school that makes you a lot of money.
I think you've heard some of that from Hunter. He's almost like, I'm speaking parenthetically. He throws, hey, don't look at me. Basketball program's really good. Baseball team's in the World Series every year. Track, and look what I did with the soccer team. And volleyball, we had a hot minute all there. It's like, hey, we're living. We just got to figure out the football thing.
Yeah. I'll say this, like when you walk around campus and the football program, the facilities, the stadium and all that, they've got that. That's figured out. Yep. That's not an issue.
It's a great stadium. It is.
The issue is attracting the right type of player here, keeping him here, and being able to pay for it. And, there's plenty of money up here. We know that. It's just a matter of convincing the right people of, hey, do you want to spend this money and help us with this? And I'm still not clear, again, how much money is actually being put into the program now under Ryan Silverfield.
But you don't know how much money we had last year either though.
It was not substantial.
But towards the
Yeah.
bottom of the SEC.
It was in the
is
bottom half of
understanding.
the SEC. Yeah, it did not change much from the year before that.
Do you think I'm not really big on him anymore, but when he came out, I thought it was a big story. Arch Manning. If Arch Manning said, "Man, I really want to come to Arkansas, but I want $8 million," I would think that they would find
We
the
got
money.
the DJ Lagway, Dylan Raiola. They're
Yeah.
going to be getting some
Yeah.
big paychecks.
I think several of those guys that entered the portal here this week, they kind of know where they're going. The new College Sports Commission, right? It's what's overseeing NIL and everything now. So the NCAA really has nothing to do with that anymore. The CSC, up until recently, only had 4 employees overlooking every NIL deal. Now they've got 10. That's what I was told last week. 10. They're hoping to get 30 or more.
To interject, though,
Yeah.
quickly, I'm sorry, not take you off track. How are they going to figure, who are you to say what your value is? How is that ever going to hold up? If my value is whatever
It's not.
somebody's willing to pay me.
Yeah, it's not. And that's why you're still seeing kids take the NCAA or schools to court. And that'll continue.
And win. Is Pavia coming back next year?
No, no, that's not happening. But the CSC is having an issue now, even with the schools who opted into all this, because the CSC was formed as a result of the House settlement. The schools, the conferences agreed, we must create our own entity to oversee all this, the College Sports Commission. Well, now the schools are saying, we don't want to sign the participation agreement because it limits what we can spend. You can have a cap of this much money that only goes up 2.5% or whatever every year. They're like, we don't want to deal with that. And the first school to really step up to that and say, we don't want it was Texas Tech, which of course has got all the money in the freaking world right now and is sitting there in Lubbock, Texas. Like, we want to be the Miami of the 80s where everybody who's somebody wants to come here and play.
Be a great experiment if they won the national title. It'd be awesome.
I mean, Cody Campbell told me, he says, next year we're going to be better. He says,
there's no doubt
Was
about
this
that.
coming out of Liberty Bowl when he told you that?
no, this was right after the day they won the Big 12 championship. He told me, I was like, so how is this sustainable? And he goes, our analytics, that's the other thing. People talk about the players. They got a big time analytics department, sports science, all this stuff. And he says, our analytics guys tell me that we're going to be better next year just based off of who we know we have coming back. Because they were smart with the NIL stuff where they didn't go, here, $8 million to come here and play this season. They went, okay, the new CSC is going to come in and say we have a cap starting this upcoming season, upcoming year. So why don't we give you a 3-year deal worth, and I'm just throwing numbers out there, 3-year deal worth $10 million. We'll pay you 7 of it that first year before it becomes capped. So they're front loading all these deals.
And
so
then
the players,
next year, all the rev share.
and then if you leave, we have to take some of that money back or whatever. So those guys are going to stay. They were smart with
That
it.
is smart. And
And the reason why they don't want to be part of the participation agreement, and they've convinced so many other schools we don't want to do it, is because they want to keep spending that money. They got it.
A friend of mine up here said that they did literally an analytical experiment with the softball team, with how they invested, and they copied that. They said, okay, this can work. They were 1 inning away from the national title.
Yeah.
They copied that to football, and now look, that's the best program outside of the SEC Big Ten.
And they're not just doing it football.
Overnight.
Yeah, and it's not just doing football. You mentioned softball. They spent money in that in Texas Tech. Basketball, who's the big kid they got?
JT Toppin
Yeah.
and Christian Anderson.
Right.
Those are NBA players.
Yeah, and that they spent a lot of money on, and they're doing it in all the programs. But football, of course, is what they're really going after. And in the Big 12 right now, the Big 12, there was a vacuum of power when Oklahoma and Texas left. So everybody's like, we want to be the top dog in this conference. And Texas Tech's like, we're going to be that. When people think Big 12, they're going to just think Texas Tech and everybody else. That's their plan.
And if you can get kids at Texas Tech, you can get kids to Fayetteville.
Yeah.
no, we're not
But
going to
do you
get
have
into that.
but do you have $55 million to spend every year?
That's on the AD. And
Is it? The AD can't just get the money out of his own pocket. He's got to convince everybody.
The AD's job is to raise money. It's not to hire good coaches.
No, I
it's
agree
to
with that.
raise money. That's number one.
I agree.
And you can make bad hires if you're raising the money.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
you can make a good hire that makes you money. Like, you look
Yeah.
at Deion Sanders.
Bill Belichick.
I'm sure that Colorado's making a lot of money.
Oh, it's insane how much money.
Yeah.
I did a story on that last fall about just the financial impact it's had on the school, just as far
Yes.
as T-shirts selling,
Yep.
the local economic impact. I mean, selling out stadium when they were having problems even being able to fill it out for one game a year. Yeah, it's paid off very well for them.
They have side gigs on the football field. I mean, they have every actor and football player, rapper. People want to go just for that.
You talk about one of the busiest sidelines I've ever been on. It wasn't a national championship game or anything. It was Colorado versus North Dakota State. I'm not kidding you.
You going to a playoff game this weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to Alabama OU.
That's
Do
Friday
you
night.
really think that Texas Tech has this year to win it all?
No.
Man, me neither.
From my 30,000 foot view on them is every game I watch of theirs, it seems like their offense should score 2 more touchdowns. They always stall out twice in the red zone. They can't score in the red zone, and it's going to pop up at some point in the playoffs
against a team that actually has a good defense.
Yeah, I mean, good luck doing against OU's defense. Good luck doing against Ohio State's defense, Indiana's defense. Indiana and Ohio State's defenses, I hate using the word generational, but you just look at them statistically and analytically, they got generational defenses in the Big Ten.
How did they do that in Indiana? Because they don't have the funding.
They do.
He's a stud coach.
Oh, he's a stud coach.
I'm a Pittsburgh guy. He rolls the R's.
You never would have thought they had the funding until they paid that coach
$11.5 million a year.
I mean, come on.
They've never won.
They never would have spent that kind of money if they did not have him.
Well, and they don't have this loaded up NIL roster, right?
Yeah, they do.
They got a $30 million roster.
You know who started helping out with that?
Mark Cuban.
Another he went to Indiana?
A Pittsburgh guy and an Indiana guy.
Yeah, he's been very much since he got not rid of the Mavericks, but started lessening his role there. He always kind of told himself, I'm not going to get heavily involved in college NIL stuff because, whatever.
Until it was his school.
But now it's like, okay, I'll get involved there. And what you saw when Cignetti first got there is he brought a team with him from JMU. It was a bunch of veteran guys who had chips on their shoulder. Maybe were like 3 or 4 star guys at the end of the portal. But he just said, come with me. We're going to win a championship. All those guys, I mean, it's like a Moneyball approach. He's like, okay, I got 2 receivers here who had 1,000-yard seasons with me at JMU. Yeah. I got defensive linemen here who have 10 sacks, 12 sacks, and against Power 5 opponents we played last year, we're productive, so I know they can do that. The question is, can they do it week after week after week? And so he did that, and Indiana had an easy schedule last year, and they did this year too, and they were able to get that. But then when they started playing the big dogs, they got beat pretty badly
last year.
Towards the end of the year, yeah.
This year, they've had more money. So instead of going in the portal and getting James Madison guys or Old Dominion guys, they're getting Power 4 players to come in. They got Fernando Mendoza, who's a veteran quarterback from Cal who just didn't have much to work with, but you can see it there. The NFL scouts were saying this guy's an NFL player. He's got an NFL arm. So they got him, and they brought in all these other weapons, including weapons that stayed there from last season that were at James Madison, Elijah Sherratt, who I just absolutely love at receiver. They brought those guys in, so now you had a base that was able to win whatever it was, 11 games last year, and then get lost in Notre Dame against the bigger schools, couldn't really stay up there.
Ohio State, yeah.
But they built the depth up, and now they've got the more experience. And
it took them a year.
Yeah.
Just 1
year. Year 1, they were 11-1, and I know that they didn't beat a top 50
it takes
team.
It takes a good coach and one good season. And then after that, people are like, okay, powerful schools.
It's almost, and you see this, like I compare Indiana, and this is I think they're the NIL era version of Boise State from the standpoint of this. Boise State would beat up on Mountain West teams and then save all their gas and prep up for that big bowl game or whatever, and they would upset someone or something.
Virginia Tech, yeah.
Or at the beginning of the season, they would play a big-time opponent like Georgia or Virginia Tech, for example, and beat them. And then the rest of the way, they're able to just roll through because of the talent they've got. Now, Indiana, their schedule's obviously a little bit tougher, but who do they not play in the regular season? Yeah. Ohio State, all those guys. Their big game was Oregon, and they went on the road there and won by 10 points. And then they didn't really have another tough game until the Big Ten championship.
Can Arkansas do it? Can they copy the model? I actually asked Silverfield that. I said, hey, do you copy the analytics from Texas Tech, Indiana, Vanderbilt, these microwave kind of programs?
Anything's possible.
Anything is not anything's likely, but anything's possible.
There's everybody I hear it in the agents in the search firms, like everybody's going, we need to find the next Cignetti. It's like there's not another Cignetti.
What about John Sumrall? Said 10 games a year everywhere he is.
He's going to win big at Florida.
I think Morris is the best setup coach.
I agree. Now he's the guy that's going to be able to bring you a team.
At Oklahoma State?
Yes.
He's going to bring you a team to Oklahoma State.
They've lost the funding since Boone Pickens died.
They got more money. They got money now.
Look at
bit. They're good.
I think he was very analytical when he took that job. I think it's a stepping stone for a bigger job eventually.
But these guys' egos, they don't look at it and say, oh, it's easier to win in the Big 12. They think every coach in the country thinks that in the right circumstance, they can win in the SEC and the Big 10. It's not like they want to go to the ACC. Or
Unless
the
you're
Mountain
Lincoln
West.
Riley.
You can't compare the Big 12 with the SEC. You just can't.
No.
For talent,
No.
I mean, 1
Of course
through
not.
12 teams. I mean, any team in the SEC.
BYU's
can
probably
beat
like 7-5 in the SEC, 8
Who's
and 4. BYU's probably like 7-5, 8 and 4 in
you.
the
You're
SEC.
out of your mind.
You think worse than that?
You're out of your mind.
Better than Arkansas.
Look at what happened to Texas
Brandon's
Tech.
smiling. He thinks
Look-
you're dogging
look
the
what
Big
happened-
12
Well, no,
right
I
now.
think they win 7 or 8 here. They had
No,
2 games where they had to
won
rally
7
from
or 8
14
with
points in the fourth
non-conference
quarter.
games, maybe.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
they're not
They have-
going 8-0 in the SEC.
No,
Come
what
on,
I'm trying to
come
say is they'll have 3 wins, and then they may beat
Right.
Mississippi State, Arkansas, and that's about it.
Brandon, we're
South Carolina, maybe.
wrapping things up here, getting low on time. I wanted to get your take on what's going to happen with the playoff. They're going to 16, aren't they?
Yeah.
Next year.
That's probably what's going to end up happening.
Do you think
And-
is that? I think 12 is a good model. Because you're talking about a 9-3, a really good 9-3 team like Texas is on the bubble, and they probably should have gotten in. They had the best loss in the country to Ohio State.
Yeah.
Texas A&M. I don't know if they got enough love, but I worry at 16. You're talking 8 and 4 teams.
Oh God, I don't want a 4-loss team in a playoff.
It's possible.
I don't think we
so
should have.
sorry.
No, I was going to say I don't even think Alabama necessarily had the resume to get in based off of the way they played near the end of the season, because they were beat up. And listen, these ADs, they send you these packets of here's why we belong, and like as soon as that SEC championship game ended, I got a packet.
PDF.
Yeah, PDF texted to me, and it's like, we had 13 players who didn't play in the game or was very limited. We're going to have them back for playoff, which you're projecting, and then sure enough, not all of them are going to be back. Like LT Overton, their best defensive end's not going to play this weekend. But I think there's more of a push now. The feeling was we're going to stay at 12 next year because we just don't have enough time. But now they've extended the deadline to January 23rd to make a decision. The Big 12, the ACC, and the SEC all want 16 now. The Big 10 is still hanging out
24.
there going, we want this 24-team model or something along the lines of 20 with multiple automatic qualifiers for us that are uneven for the Big 12 and ACC, and the Big 12 and ACC don't want that.
I think I really have fixed this problem. I really think. If you're going to go to 16 teams, okay, I think you should have a bowl game your first game of the year. And how that is you pick number 1 with
Not on campus.
Yeah, what?
Not on campus.
Not on campus, but that's the way that
So
they can
similar,
make their money.
similar to the preseason tournaments in college
Yes,
basketball.
Because once you go to 16 team, as you saw with the 12 this year with Texas and Vanderbilt and Notre Dame, a lot more teams that you add onto this, the more people are going to opt out of bowl games.
I actually think this is a unique year where it does seem like there's about 8 teams that can win the national title. And I think most years it's probably like 4. Because when it was a 14 playoff, Notre Dame played, was it Alabama as a 21-point underdog or something like that? And they had no chance.
Yeah, in fact, this I'm trying to think. This weekend, the first round, the 2 G5 schools, biggest underdogs we've seen in quite some time. 2 of the
JMU is a
3
really big underdog.
highest point spreads in college football playoff
That
history.
is atrocious.
I think
though, that
Tulane
they're
can
in.
win that game.
Which-
I don't know
who?
how. I think Tulane can beat Ole Miss. I don't know how they're going to respond to Pete Golding. I think John Summerall's a tremendous coach. They got the rematch thing where I know you're a college football historian. A team that gets a rematch, I think they win 85% of the time in the second game if they lost the first one. I don't have the guts to pick them.
Yeah.
But I can see them winning that game.
That's why with
there's
Oklahoma,
a lot going on in Oxford.
Yeah, that's like with the Oklahoma-Alabama game. People are like, you think Oklahoma to beat them the second time? I was like, I don't. Alabama's never been beaten twice in the same season by the same team ever.
Yeah, but Alabama's never been this bad in 15 years. So.
They were worse last year.
Yeah.
I mean, I think because the situation. I mean, think about it. Well, they lose 2 games last year.
3.
They lost 3. Well, they lost 3 this year. But if you like that, you got to get rid of the conference championship games. You got to get rid of that.
Yeah.
If you're going to try to add more teams.
I like the conference championship.
I do too, but I think those are going the way of the
You're
dinosaur.
having NFL schedules out there. Teams are going
They
to be
make
playing.
so much money off.
But there's ways to continue making money off of something similar. If you go to 16, but if you go to 24 or 20, you have play-in games, these conferences do, where you have 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3 in your standings. So you have not just one conference championship game, so to speak, you have 2 on the same weekend that are play-in games into the playoff.
Say if you're the number 1 team that wins the championship, how many games are you playing that year? I mean,
Yeah.
17?
Conference championship games 13. Call it 3 more. That's 16.
But they're also talking about, like in a 2014 model, like we'll do double buys. Some of the models I've seen are just outrageous. It looks like, you ever seen the movie Basketball?
Yeah.
Where they have a 500 team bracket, like this stuff. It's just confusing.
I love it. Would your preference as a fan be to keep it the way it is? 12 teams? Or no, as a fan, you like 16, maybe
I'll be honest with you.
The full round of on-campus.
My opinion is I like the 2014 model that's been pitched, but you've got to limit the regular season. I would say you bring
Get rid of it. So 11 games?
I say you go to 10.
They're not going to do that. There's no
You
way.
do 10 games. Every conference does 9 conference games, and you have 1 non-conference game against another power opponent. So every game on your schedule is a power opponent, 10 games, and you do a 24-team field tournament at the end.
Which is basically the 1AA model.
Yes.
I mean, that sounds pretty good. I mean, if you're one, you cannot have kids.
You would save the bowl system too.
Well,
if we continue doing this the way we're doing it now, we're even go to 16.
Well, yeah,
Bowl system.
It's one thing for the players to opt out. You got teams saying, we don't care. Here, have our
You got
money. We're not going.
You have entire teams opting out. You had 9 teams this year go, we ain't going to a bowl.
That's why I thought if you did it at the beginning of the year, you have the very first game as a bowl game, you can still make your money, and people would
They
all
kind of have that. I think, yeah, like with some of these neutral site games, which actually I don't know if you'd agree on this. It seems like there's been an emphasis on getting back to home and homes.
Yes, it's
like
money.
Even Alabama, which Saban loved the neutral site game.
It's the money thing, and they want to go back home because of the money. And a lot of these stadiums now, I don't know if Arkansas has done it. A lot of these stadiums now, they've redone their seating so where there's more luxury and prime seating.
Oh, Arkansas.
So, for example, Florida State spent like $500 million on new facilities, and then they redid their stadium. And the AD there was telling me this year that they're expecting to make an additional $4 million just based off of them restructuring the seating, because you have to pay more to be in a certain spot of the stadium that you didn't have to be. And OU is about to do the same thing, which has upset a lot of fans there. But you got to make more money now because it's very difficult to get fans to come to games now. Yes, SEC stadiums are still selling out at times, but when you can sit on your couch, save money, and the screen's huge, and you got a better view than you
Cheap
would there.
beer, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Do you agree with me on this? They really should move the season up a week.
Yes.
And then maybe January 1st, they're playing the semifinals. And here's why. You could play those play-in games or those conference championship games Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah.
Because I've seen these campuses on Thanksgiving weekend with no students. And
no
in the
there.
modern era, what are you doing?
I was at Penn State for their Nebraska game the week before Thanksgiving, and their students are allowed to go home early on break, and the stadium was just like, I was never been to Penn State before. I was looking forward to it, and I get there and like half the stadium's empty because the students aren't there, and their season was sucking. But there are so many ways that they can fix this. Move the season up a week. I say shrink it down. Like, no one wants to do it because of money, but shrink the regular season down to 10, make it a 24-team tournament. The money from that is more than going to offset how much money you're getting in revenue from the stadium games. And also you have an opportunity to potentially host 1 or 2 games at home in the playoff.
I know you see all the data on it. Would an expanded playoff, would that diminish the value of the TV games though? Like, would CBS, NBC still be willing to pay big games? Because look what's happened to college basketball over the last 20 years. They've kind of eroded their regular season. The tournament's great. It's such a spectacle, but nobody really cares about these regular season games.
Well,
if you shrink the season, I think it actually makes the regular season more important.
Especially if you moved them all to conference games.
Yeah.
You know,
I like the 10 conference game model, 2 non-cons.
Because you're going to make a lot more money with CBS and all of them when every week it's an SEC game. But not even that, I would think also, if you put in something into play, like, listen, if you're in the Power Four, you lose 3 games, you're not going to the playoffs.
Right.
Every other conference, if you lose 2 games, there's no way you're going to the playoffs. That way, at the end of the year, nobody's griping.
I think if they go to 24, the soon-to-be G6 is going to get 2 bids.
Well, that or they're going to go do their own thing. And the G6 has talked about doing their own playoff for the last 3 years.
G5, next year will be G6.
Yeah, and they haven't really gotten far down the road because mostly that's been private capital firms that have presented those ideas to them. Are like, oh, that's great. We'll just steal the idea from you and not pay you and share the money. But that hasn't gone far down because they're probably sitting there waiting in a lot of ways, waiting to the day where these big conferences say, "Hey, we don't want you in the party anymore," and then they'll sue them.
Do you
and get
believe
some money.
Do you believe that we are heading towards a model where it's like approximately a 20 to 24 team Big Ten, a 20 to 24 team SEC, and that's power football?
not.
And I'd say about 10 years from now.
Potentially, the D-Day date on that to me is
When the ACC collapses.
I did a story on this. A series of stories.
Florida State can get out in 2030.
Yeah,
And Clemson, and it's going to happen.
yeah.
But they'll just move somebody else in there in that spot.
I circle 2032 on your calendar. That's when things are going to be. I think
And why
really
that day specifically? Or
bunch
why?
of TV contracts are coming up.
The Big Ten and SEC. Are
Big
up for about
Ten,
that time.
SEC, ACC, Big 12, all about that same time.
Is Arkansas in danger? Could they possibly, some of these smaller non-type, the Purdue's, the Arkansas, the Northwesterns, can they maybe get pushed out?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
That's why I've done a bunch of radio up here when they were doing the coaching hire.
You said that matter of factly. Like,
I did. I
oh
said,
yeah, it can happen.
This is the most important hire in Arkansas football history. Because if you don't get this right and you don't start winning now for the next few years, you're going to diminish your product to a point where.
Do they know that?
I hope so. I would think
they
so.
care.
But the problem, here's a problem. Here's a problem. And I'm not calling out Hunter Yurachek or anything like that. The problem with most ADs is like they can't see beyond their nose because all they're cared about is year to year and keeping their job. They don't care about the next guy.
It's a great
They're
job.
bought-
It's a
hey,
great job.
You're
by
bought
the way.
and
They're
paid for
well.
it, though. I mean, it comes to a point to where, you got to, they give you an idea of, hey, this is what we can work with. This is what you're going to do. And so you're, like he said, you're doing everything to keep your job.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is the best hire or the most important hire because 2 or 3 or 4 years of this and we're not winning.
Yeah.
We're going to go to the Big 12. We're going to go somewhere else.
Or at the very least, what you're going to see, like the ACC's doing now and other conferences are now exploring, they're doing uneven revenue distribution based off of success and also TV ratings.
Which right now Arkansas gets more money than Texas and Oklahoma because of like the tiered breaking their way in system.
So if you keep losing and you're not winning championships or competing for them, you're going to be, not only are you not going to be competitive on the field, but you're going to be worse in future years because you're not going to have as much money coming in to be able to put that into your product.
And not playing any primetime games.
And then at that point, who knows when a breaking point happens and some of these conferences go, we haven't had a conference go, hey, you can't be part of us anymore. But if money keeps revving up like this and the point, at some point, some conference is probably going to sit there and go, why are we keeping these two teams around? You need to go find something else.
I think everything should be performance-based. Like, look, if you have 2 or 3 years of losing, you get kicked out. I mean,
relegation. They do that in soccer.
You need that, I think, to keep people fair and honest and competitive. Because if you feel like you're going to get kicked out of the SEC in 3 years, you're probably going to do a lot to try to win.
I mean, there's been models passed around and presented in these meetings too of relegation and Super League type thing, and there's so many legal challenges with this all because this is still quote unquote an educational academic system, and you're not supposed to be, doing this type of stuff to the kids or whatever, and the coaches being paid by the state or university. But I think that what you're seeing now in college athletics, like I honestly, I say not to say this doesn't matter, but this thing is going to look a lot different in the mid 2030s. And I say 2032 is when you're going to get a much better picture.
Will it look better? Because people like the way things were. We missed the Pac-12.
Yeah,
we missed the Big 8,
all that stuff. Tell me about it. There'll be less chaos, but is that better? Like the
discussion that pisses people off, I think that's healthy for the sport. The BCS on Monday morning would have you on PTI above NFL games.
Right.
Because it was topical.
Yeah.
And college football's kind of lost some of that. They've lost some of the debate.
It's still there.
Notre
college
Dame,
football playoff stuff.
Notre Dame took its ball and went home. They lost to Miami.
But
beat
that
Miami.
I'm telling you that the most read stories or whatever are about Notre Dame pulling out, or the college football playoff commissioner chairman saying such and such, or why is Notre Dame below Miami?
Though, right?
But that's created, the conversation is created by the decision makers.
Well, which I hope they understand how healthy that debate is.
That's why they do a show for 5 times a season
And
releasing
why-
rankings that don't
Yes,
matter.
and
That's
why
why I don't watch a
2014
single
playoff be a
one of those.
problem?
I tell everybody, you go back on social media, look at this. When I go CFP rankings tonight, don't watch them. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They don't matter until the final week because they can
tell
do
you
whatever they
They're
want.
full of crap. You know,
They
full of
tell
crap.
you it changes every week.
It changes every week. It doesn't matter what we do
the
week to week.
system's so broken. When I was playing, there was still some things we had to work through. But when you have James Madison and Tulane in the college football playoff,
But you need them for your
there is
ecosystem.
something
You
wrong.
need them for your ecosystem. I understand they're going to get blown out.
Blown out.
You want to share their money? You need to play those games against those schools. So they have to have a piece of the pie.
Yeah.
It seems like to me like
The ratings would be a lot bigger.
Like
if
Notre
if we
Dame.
had Texas Notre Dame in there, you got 4
Oh,
balling
Yeah.
games.
Well,
and
Notre
they
Dame-
know that.
I'm
They
actually the
absolutely
one
know
guy
that.
that thought that Notre Dame should have been over Miami. And hear
They
me out.
lost the game.
Hear me out.
What?
They
then
lost
don't play
head
the
to
game.
head
Don't
with
play the
Miami.
game. Let's just let
Fine.
Grok figure out the college football playoff.
Hold
Come on.
now. Hear me out. They lost head to head to Miami. What was it? A 2-point loss? 1 point
Week
loss?
1, yeah.
23-21, yeah.
And then they lost to Texas A&M, a couple point loss.
41-40.
Two,
Missed
At
an
home.
extra point, too.
yeah. I mean, at that time, 2 top 5 teams in the country.
Yes.
Miami loses to SMU and they lose to Louisville
At home.
at home. And Notre Dame, I love their quarterback.
they
I think
won-
their quarterback's going to be one of the best.
But
in the
they
country.
won the game.
But-
The game has to mean the most. When you only have 12 samples, you're only talking about 8%.
Okay.
That's got to
I'm
mean the
kind of
most.
fine.
I'm kind of with
Tulane lost
Peyton.
to who?
I'm kind of with Peyton though.
Ole Miss and somebody else.
Because teams change throughout a year.
Yep.
I understand this head-to-head comment, but teams aren't static. They're not same team in week 1 as
Yeah.
same team in week 14. That was week 1. Notre Dame, I think, is a better team than it was in week 1.
I agree.
Miami's a worse team than it was in week 1 because they lost to Louisville and, as we mentioned, SMU on the road. Let's also consider this. What was Miami's first game outside of the state of Florida this year?
First game?
No idea.
November. They did not leave the state of Florida until November.
Wow.
And guess what happened the first time they left the state?
They lost.
They lost to SMU. They were at home pretty much the entire time.
I can't. Well, like Alabama, I could understand 100% that they wouldn't make it. They were playing
I do
terrible
too.
football towards the end. Texas was playing great football towards the end. I would understand what they got in. But you're talking about, oh man, they lost to them straight up. Well, look at Tulane. They lose to Ole Miss. They used the San Antonio.
We had Texas at Oregon. Oh, that'd be
And
so
then,
cool.
Oh, yeah.
but
That
those
would be so
losses
cool.
don't count because why exactly?
It's like I said, it's like the NCAA tournament. There, you see so many teams get hot at the end of the year, and then they make a run. I think the same thing is true in football to a certain extent. You can have that type of team that
Yes.
can make a run because they're playing so much better. There's been teams
Yeah.
where they start a season, you're going, God dang, they're winning games 14-10 or whatever, and
Penn
then all of a
State-
sudden
but
their
Penn
offense.
State could beat playoff teams.
But basketball's
Not
a
that
little
they got
different.
hot, but
Yeah.
they've got talent. I'm not
They
saying
got
they deserve
talent.
to be in, but
Yeah.
yes, the end of the year, teams change.
Basketball is a little different though, because you can have a 15th seed or 16th seed beat a 1 or 2 seed
Right.
and make it exciting.
Just need one guy to get
But
hot.
Gotta
in
get hot,
football,
yeah.
I don't think that a
Right.
number 24 team is going to beat Georgia.
Right. No, I agree. I agree.
We've kept you here way too long. Well,
I just love talking ball. I mean, if I wasn't doing this, I'd be on the phone with someone else right now.
It's college football is the greatest sport, and I hope they don't ruin it with some 2014 playoff.
No, it's coming, baby.
That's
money.
gonna make it
Money
worse.
ruins everything.
It's going to make it worse for bowl games for
ruins
sure.
everything.
Nobody's going to want
That's-
to play the
Who
bowl game.
cares? Who cares
I
about the
care.
bowl games?
But-
Really?
I
You care
care.
about the famous Idaho Weed Whacker Bowl?
Yeah, because you get to see some weird crap. There's some weird ass
the
bowl
Central-
games
Central,
that
the
happen.
Central Michigan, Western Kentucky,
Okay.
Bahamas Bowl.
Yeah.
Why do you not think
You
that
just
Notre
never know.
Dame and so forth and so on is not playing in the bowl games?
Because you know what?
'Cause they feel
here's
shafted not
Here's
getting
what
into
Notre Dame did.
the playoff.
They were little kids.
Okay, but
that's what they did.
Whether they're a kid or not, they felt like they got shafted not getting into the playoffs.
Win your games.
So when you add more teams, you're going to have those top 18 through 30 teams thinking, "Man, I should have been in there. I'm not going to play my bowl
Notre
game
Dame
now."
beat one team that finished in the top 25. It was USC. One. That's
Hey,
not enough.
But hey, you know what? Look at Arkansas.
They won 2
They played
games.
everybody to 3 points, but when they played Notre Dame, got blew up by 30.
But they won
You can
2
make
games.
stuff like that. I mean, I don't get
Exactly.
it.
Well, I'll say this too about the bowl system. I think one way to slow seems like quickening death of the bowl system is they need to start, the bowl systems themselves need to start paying the players.
like
play
the,
the
like
game.
the preseason basketball
Yeah,
tournament.
if you want them bad enough, you'll play. Ooh, I like that.
Well, my understanding is most of, if not all, these NIL contracts. There's a clause.
There's clauses in there. You gotta
Cam
finish out
Ward
the
a
season.
year ago, he played the first half of the bowl
Yeah, and
game
then
to make sure he got his check, and they tried to skirt around
But
it.
the bowls
that's what happened.
themselves need to go. Say, here's your Xbox. They need to go. We're going to pay every player this, or they're going to do it on a tier system. You know, your
Yeah.
quarterback's this, or
Peyton,
this
did you get anything cool? You got like a mountain bike or from a flat screen from one of those bowl games back in the day?
No.
What did they get? Capital One Bowl? They give you a gift card or a shopping?
Here's
They
an
gave me like a
orange.
windsuit and like a Walmart watch, a Casio or something stupid. I mean, gosh, man, this since you're in the know, is there any talks about potentially maybe paying past players for time well served? I mean,
Yes, that was part of the house.
Shut
settlement.
up.
The Ed O'Bannon case.
Yeah,
had a
did
lot
you
to do
opt
with
in?
that.
They're supposed
obviously
to
not.
send
I didn't know about this.
Check your email or check your. Those might not be coming, but you have to. There was an opt in, so past players. You may have actually. What was your final season?
7.
I think you might be part of it. I'm trying to remember.
Shut up.
I think it might be 2006 through 2019 or maybe something like that. But if you're part of that group, you're part of the past players who get some money from the house settlement.
Now, if I give you my email address, can you send me some information
Yeah,
on this?
I can do that. Yeah.
That'd be wonderful.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what years it was, but yeah. There's a.
I thought you were going to say no, but he said that and it totally cut me off.
I mean, it's not much. I can't remember what the average was, but it's like a couple $1,000, something like that.
Brandon, we've taken up a ton of your time for the dozens and dozens still tuned in. Where can we find your stuff at? Go ahead.
CBSSports.com.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you for coming on. Peyton, you got anything for him?
Nope. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Thanks, Brandon.